Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Well, there are some reports coming out of Peru, specifically a village in South America along the Amazon River where some villagers are encountering apparent extraterrestrial beings. Now, we don't know if this is true or not, but there are stories coming out, and there is an article in The Sun today, and I want to talk about that article. The headline reads, Alien versus Predator. Cops probe claims villagers being terrorized by predator-style aliens after girl has neck slashed by mystery beast. It's a really crazy story. Now, we don't know. Some people are saying it could be just mass hysteria, or some people are saying it could be something really extraordinary. But anyway, here's what the article says. It says, police in the Amazon jungle are probing bizarre claims of villages being menaced by creatures just like Predator. Locals living in the wilds have reported seeing 7-foot armored aliens with large heads and yellow eyes in Peru. I'm just going to stop there for a second. I wonder if these beings are related to those 8 to 10 foot tall creatures that showed up in Vegas back in May 1st. I wonder. I'm just curious. But which, by the way, still has not been proven to be a hoax by any means or measure. Continuing, it says, the claims have been made by members of the Iquitu indigenous people in the rural district of Alto Nane, northeast of Lima. And they claim a girl, 15, was attacked by one of the monsters, which slashed her neck. Now, they're calling these things from alleged beings from outer space monsters. Hunters have reportedly fired on the creatures with their guns, which are said to be immune to human weapons. The beings also allegedly can disappear at will. Theories range from the outlandish, such as them being real aliens or creatures from folklore, to the more mundane. It has been suggested the beings could be drones covered with cloth and masks to scare the locals by illegal miners in a Scooby-Doo style scheme. Now let me just stop there for a second. So the idea of extraterrestrials, that's outlandish, right? But drones covered with cloth and masks to scare the locals by illegal miners in a Scooby-Doo style scheme, that's more mundane. Wow. Anyway, continuing. Others have suggested the sightings could be a case of mass hysteria. Could be. Police and the Navy are now investigating the claims, with locals calling for a military force to be deployed in the region, which is a 10-hour river ride from Iquitos City. The description of the aliens appears to be similar to the armored beast from the Predator franchise. I just want to stop there. So they're comparing these things to the beings that have been seen in movies. To me, I don't like when the media makes these. I just don't like it. I don't like when they make. It's just like Predator. No, well, I can't imagine that there's something going to be. If something from another world is not going to be just like Predator, but that's how they want to phrase it here in this article. I guess to get more clicks on it. Anyway, it says here, predators are a species of tribalistic aliens who wear armored suits and carry blades as they hunt humans. Well, that's complete fiction. The Predator movies, with Arnold Schwarzenegger, the first one, complete, absolute hogwash, fiction, made up. Has nothing to do with what's going down here. So when you see articles like this, you have to, it's tongue in cheek a little bit because they're not really being serious when they're comparing it to things that were created in motion pictures. Anyway, continuing. But in the movie, one of the creatures is handily seen off by action star Arnold Schwarzenegger. The Peruvian locals, however, do not seem to be having as much luck fending off the aliens. Well, again, because we're talking about movies and reality. I mean, if this is a real story, right? There's a difference between fiction and reality. I don't know. So a lot of people in the mainstream media, they have a big problem separating fiction from reality, especially when it comes to extraterrestrial encounters. They have to find something that was written about or a movie that was made, and they got to compare it with something because they don't know how else to handle it, particularly the sun. Anyway, continuing here. Community leaders have said the strange beings have been menacing them since July 11th. It's pretty close. I mean, now you had May 1st was those beings that were sighted in Las Vegas, which there are looks apparent. I think that there was they were captured on video in that by crime scene reconstruction expert Scott Roeder. It was captured on. He was able to isolate a frame of the video that was filmed by the family back in May 1st, the early morning hours of May 1st, and there was something there. I wonder, are they related to are the things that these people are seeing in Peru? Are they related to those things that that family had encountered on May 1st in Vegas? Anyway, continuing. Some villagers describe the aliens as being like Pelicaris, creatures from folklore that feast on human fat and organs. Police took a speedboat and toured the area after the reports of the teenager being attacked. Pictures show the young girl with a bloodied neck, but it is unclear what caused the injuries. And another man is reported to have been wounded in the head by the, quote, aliens. Community leader Jaro Retilgo Avila said in no uncertain terms he believes the beings are from outer space. And the villagers have set up patrols to try and hunt down the intruders with shotguns. Let me just stop there for a second. Good luck with that. Good luck with that, because, I mean, if it is extraterrestrials, if these beings are from someplace else and they were able to have technology that brought them from some faraway planet 100 million light years away in space, then shotguns are not going to have any effect. And apparently they don't. Because continuing in this article, it says, he compared them to looking like the Green Goblin from the Spider-Man franchise, who in some versions appears armored with yellow eyes. I shot one of them twice and he wasn't injured. He rose and disappeared. We're very frightened about what's happening in our community. So this is the community leader making these statements, saying that he actually shot one and he saw it rise up and then disappear. He added, their shoes are round-shaped, which they use to float. They float about 1 meter from the ground, and there is a red light on the heel. So, additionally, these beings, they seem to be, they could just float around. They have abilities on their shoes that allow them to just float, according to this village leader. Their heads are long, they wear a mask, and their eyes are yellowish. Let me just stop there for a second. There have been creatures that have been reported throughout the decades that have been wearing some sort of covering over their face. That's not something new. Anyway, continuing. They are experts at escaping. We want a military support to protect us, as well as local and regional authorities. Peruvian ufologist Anthony Choi claimed he had heard of accounts from across the Amazon about the so-called aliens. He stated he had heard there was a report from the city of Pucallpa, of 3 boys being attacked with laser beams. And he claimed there was a similar report from the town of Contamana. But he speculated this may be a case of mass hysteria with real stories being embellished. He suggested reports of human traffickers may be becoming intertwined with folklore and reports of alien abductions. So there's a ufologist that's thinking that it might not be anything. It could just be embellishing, people embellishing the stories, and it has something to do with human traffickers. And here's a quote that he says. He says, there are legends that speak of the so-called peelers, who are a kind of mythical characters, he explained. That is what the communities constantly repeat. Okay, let me just stop there. Well, yeah, I mean, if you're living in one of these communities that, along the Amazon, there's not a lot of technology going on there yet, and you're going to be embedded in folklore, and so if something comes from outer space that you can't explain, well, you're going to look in the folklore handbook, and you're going to come up with something out of there. So I could see how that could happen. Anyway, continuing, it says, according to a 2017 national census, there are around 1,350 people who identify as being a member of the Akitu community. UFOs and talk of aliens have become increasingly mainstream after a high-profile hearing led by U.S. politicians in Washington. Well, these people in Peru, in this small little village, I'm sure that that really has nothing to do with what they're experiencing. They probably have no idea what's going on here in the United States because they're just not paying attention. Just as people in the United States, for the most part, aren't paying attention what's going on in other communities like this little community in Peru until now. When there's discussion of alien creatures that look like Predator and are able to disappear and float around and hurt people, well, then we're going to hear about it eventually. But hey, it could be true. It could be true. I mean, but it's interesting though, isn't it? Like, oh, the crazy idea that it's aliens, right? But the non-crazy, the mundane thing is that it's a Scooby-Doo scheme, a bunch of miners using drones with covers on them to make it look like ghosts just out of a Scooby-Doo cartoon. Now that sounds crazy to me. That's tantamount to the debunkers' excuse for the Ariel school incident, where they said it was a magical puppeteer troupe that showed up and had telepathic marionettes. That's tantamount to that in my book, right? So the debunkers' explanations a lot of times sound more crazy to me than extraterrestrial visitation or extraterrestrials being responsible. That's just me, though. Anyway, moving on, I want to talk about some of the recent polls I have run on Spotify. It's time to catch up on that. And we're going to go back a little bit. We're going to go to 19 days ago for the episode, The Importance of UFO Disclosure / UFO Debunker pens desperate op-ed. I asked this question. Now, I'll bring this one up before, but I want to bring it up again because there's still 19 days left. But anyway, it says, the question was, does the stigma that surrounds the UFO extraterrestrial topic sometimes prevent you from speaking openly about it among certain people? And 72 people so far have voted, and there's still 19 days left. Yes, say 53 people, or 73.6%, or no, 19 people, or 26.4%. Yes, there's no question. Like, again, I said this last time, I don't care anymore. I'm beyond that. Like, it doesn't matter to me who's around at this point. Because as far as I'm concerned, the people who are crazy are the people who just aren't accepting this at this point. They're just allowing they're allowing the mainstream and also government officials who are obviously lying. I mean, about the cover up, about any knowledge, about having no knowledge of extraterrestrial presence on this planet. Those are the people who are crazy, as far as I'm concerned. They're the dumb ones. They're the idiots, because there's just too many other people out there in this world who have experienced things, have seen things, have encountered things, have been abducted, and so on and so forth and so on. Cattle mutilations. I mean, there's just too much. If you're just not aware of this at this point, I don't know where your head has been. You're just not. You're allowing yourself to be completely controlled by the mainstream media and to government officials who step up to a podium and lie about this on a regular basis. That's what you're. I mean, if you haven't read the literature on this, then that's on you at this point. Anyway, continuing here. For the episode, Mystery Concerning Representative Mike Turner's Baffling Anti-UFO Disclosure Stance Solved. Excuse me, I skipped ahead here to a couple. I want to go back. SETI, for the episode, SETI Senior Astronomers Undies in Bunch over Grush Assertions, I asked this question: was the late Stanton Friedman correct in calling SETI a cult? And so far, 69 people, there's 69 votes, 23 days left. 46 people say yes, or 66.7%, while 23 people say no, or 33.3%. I say yes, it's a cult. I agree with the majority. It's a cult. There's no question in my mind about it. It's a cult. Because out of one side of SETI's mouth, they say, there's no question in my mind that there's extraterrestrial life out there on other planets, but I don't believe there's any proof whatsoever that shows that there's something coming here. They're so entrenched in the idea that there's something out there, right, that they can't even pay attention to what's happening right here on the planet in which they live, in which they reside. Okay, moving forward. For the episode, Organism from Varginha Alien Caused Officer's Death, says Leslie Keene, and Vegas Alien Update, I asked this question: are extraterrestrials / non-human intelligent beings using technology that makes it difficult for humans from seeing and photographing them? I have 118 votes so far with 23 days left, and an overwhelming majority, 107 or 90.7%, say yes, while only 11 or 9.3% say no. Yes, there's no question that they are using something to prevent from people seeing them. There's no question in my mind about it. We've heard different kinds of reports from different people where these things look invisible sometimes. They look, you can't see them. It's really difficult to get really good photo evidence of a flying saucer. We do get them sometimes, though. We do get them, despite what all the debunkers and naysayers and skeptics say. We do get good stuff from sometimes, but it's really difficult. It's very difficult because they're like probably about 1,000 steps ahead of us. No question. Okay, for the episode, mystery concerning Representative Mike Turner's baffling anti-UFO disclosure stance solved, I asked this question: should Representative Mike Turner be removed as chair of the House Intelligence Committee? 67 votes so far, 24 days left, an overwhelming majority, 61 or 91% say yes, compared to only 6 or 9% who say no. Yes, I mean, that guy has... I mean, if he's going to act like this when it comes to UFOs, I mean, when we all know that he's received, over a 10-year period, well over $1 million from defense contractors, including Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, right? When we know this, I mean, it's time for him to step down, right? Or at least recuse himself when it comes to anything related to UFOs, because how could you trust the guy? If he has over $1 million over 10 years received from weapons manufacturers, how could the guy be trusted? He cannot be trusted. He needs to be removed. And unfortunately, people in the mainstream press, right, they won't talk about this. No matter which channel or whatever network you're watching, they don't talk about these kind of things. You know why? Because they're all, for one way or another, right, they're all receiving money from certain groups, and they don't want people to think about that. So they won't say anything about what's going on with Mike Turner, but I will. Anyway, for the episode, Captain Kirk says no ETs have visited Earth / mile-long mothership claim a bust. I asked this question: does the real extraterrestrial presence among us operate under a prime directive similar to what is described in Star Trek? Okay, I had 3 different responses here with 64 votes so far, 24 days left. And it's pretty close. Okay, yes, say most people, 45.3% or 29. No, say only 14 people or 21.9%. And the final one was some do and some don't, 21 people or 32.8%. So yes, let's think about this for a second. Does it? Are they operating under some sort of prime directive? I think I would have to go with the some do, some don't. I who knows? I mean, it doesn't seem like, some of them seem like they don't care sometimes. They'll make displays. I mean, if you listen to someone like Preston Dennett, I mean, he has done videos on this where he points out numerous different occasions where these extraterrestrials put on apparent displays and they want people to see them. So, I mean, I think, and then on another hand, though, it seems like a lot of times they don't want us to know. A lot of well, at least the Greys and the reptilians and the praying mantis, they don't want anyone to know what's going on because of their abduction program. So I'd have to say some do, some don't. We just don't know. I'd like to know. One of the questions I really hope that comes out if we ever do get disclosure, which I really am. I'm somewhat optimistic because we still have, the Congress is still pushing forward. We have some hearings coming up in the Senate. That's going to be interesting. There are people in the House trying to move toward establishing a House Select Committee where they'll be able to subpoena people. So I'm still optimistic that we could get disclosure fairly soon. And I hope that when it does happen, right, my hope, my deepest hope is that we get some kind of answers, like how many do they know are coming here? How much evidence is there that have they collected that could show us like how many they believe, how many different species from different places are coming here? They have to have some sort of figure, I would imagine, a group that has power of government backing this up, the money they've been spending on all these years, right, behind the scenes without anyone knowing about it, through black budgets and things like that. They would have to have some sort of data that could be provided to the public so we could have an idea of what's going on here, how many are coming here. So we'll see. Okay, for the episode, UK MOD, Ministry of Defense, responds to crash retrieval question / UFO cover-up scandal brewing in U.S. I asked the question, is the United Kingdom's Ministry of Defense lying about having no knowledge of UFO crash retrievals? Well, so far I have 44 votes with 24 days left. Majority of people, 41 or 93.2%, say yes, while only 3 people, or 6.8%, say no. Yeah, I have to go with the yeses on that. I think they're most certainly lying. They have to know something. There has to be some people within the Ministry of Defense that know what's going on. There are some people that just have to know. Right? There's just I can't imagine that the UK is completely left out of this loop, but I think that they could know, that they will know. Now, there are opinions that, like Nick Pope made a good point saying that, well, maybe it has something to do with, we can't share certain information with foreign nationals. So in the event that something crashed never crashed in the UK, but the UK is secretly working with other countries, particularly the United States, to keep this covered up and to pretend that it's not real, that there is no extraterrestrial presence here. But at the same that could be true. But at the same respect, according to Pope, that there could be some sort of a policy in place where the United States, they're not going to tell anybody else, any other country, about crash retrievals and what they've learned through that. I mean, that's possible. But I'd say somebody in there has to know, right? Somebody. I think that, yeah, they're probably lying. I don't trust the government when it comes to aliens and extraterrestrials. Like I've said numerous times, you cannot trust the Pentagon. So with that said, you can't trust the Ministry of Defense over there in the UK either. You can't trust any of them because they've been lying so long. I mean, how could you can't trust them? Okay, and then for the most recent podcast, America's top general says he knows nothing about aliens or UFO reverse engineering programs. I asked this question. I said, is General Mark Milley lying about not knowing anything about aliens and UFO crash retrieval and reverse engineering programs? So far, I've received 59 votes on this one with 31 days left. And yes, say 45 people, or 76.3%, while 14 people say no, or 23.7%. Yeah, he has to know something. I can't imagine that he's completely in the dark about this. How could the top general, how could the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff not know absolutely anything? He knows something. Yeah, I agree with the yeses on this one. He has to know something. I mean, it's possible, like I said previously, that he doesn't know anything about crash retrievals, or what they're learning there in crash retrievals, or what they're learning, what they have learned so far, if anything, in reverse engineering programs. That's possible he doesn't know about that, but he has to know about the extraterrestrial presence here. I can't imagine how somebody who would be in the top of the heap in the Pentagon would be completely left out of that. That just seems absolutely absurd to me. Anyway, I want to say thank you for joining me. Until next time.